Welcome and thank you for your interest in the new Stittsville Secondary School, which is scheduled to open to students in September 2022. We look forward to receiving your input on the draft staff recommended attendance boundary, opening grade structure, program offering, and other associated changes. All feedback will be reviewed and help to inform the final version of the staff recommendation report, which is scheduled to be presented to Board at its meeting of June 22, 2020 for final decisions. In March 2018, we were pleased to receive confirmation of capital funding from the Ministry of Education to construct a new 1,353 pupil-placed secondary school to serve grades 7 to 12 students in the Stittsville area. In May 2019, the district purchased just over 16 acres of land for the school site, located at the southwest corner of Robert Grant Avenue and Cope Drive in Stittsville. In October 2019, a consultation process was initiated to determine the attendance boundary, opening grade structure, program offerings for the new school. Due to the lack of a local English public secondary school in Stittsville, secondary students from this area are currently being accommodated at either A.Y. Jackson Secondary School in Canada or South Carleton High School in the village of Richmond. Intermediate students are directed to Aylorn Cassidy Elementary School, Goulburn Middle School, or Glencairn Public School for grades 7 and 8. Stittsville, including Fernbank, is the fastest growing development area in the city of Ottawa. As part of this study, future residential development was examined to determine if any changes to attendance boundaries were required to better balance enrollment growth among area schools. Where possible, the district prefers to have a family of schools configuration in place with uniform feeding patterns. The opening of a new secondary school in Stittsville allows for the opportunity to take steps toward creating this type of model for the Stittsville area. The opening of a new grade 7 to 12 secondary school in Stittsville will affect a number of area schools. It will, however, significantly impact the attendance boundaries and school enrollments of both South Carleton High School and Goulburn Middle School. Upon completion of the current Ministry of Education moratorium on pupil accommodation reviews, a comprehensive review of that part of the district, including South Carleton High School and Goulburn Middle School, could be initiated. The board-approved consultation plan included the formation of a local working group. This group met 3 times between November 2019 and March 2020. The working group was comprised of school council representatives and principals from potentially impacted schools, board staff, and local community association members. Trustees who represent potentially affected school communities were also invited to attend the meetings. The role of the working group was to provide localized input and advice with regard to proposed options, community and neighborhood alignments, and parental and family preferences as they relate to student movement. Representatives updated their school councils regarding the study process and its ongoing progress. They also collected feedback from their school communities to share with the working group. The working group was guided by the following study objectives: examine options for an opening grade structure, program offering, and attendance boundary for the new Stittsville Secondary School. Analyze options with consideration given to existing school and program feeding patterns and neighborhood alignments. Create a set of attendance boundaries and programs for local schools which, if possible, help balance enrollments at local area schools, are logical and sustainable in the longer term, and provide for viable student programming. Account for future planning considerations such as the opening of additional schools in future years, and examine designated school directions for new and future residential development areas. At its last meeting in March, the group came to a consensus with respect to a proposed plan to be shared at a public consultation meeting. The plan was to be presented for the purpose of receiving input from parents, guardians, students, and members of the broader community. The proposed plan was to include 2 possible opening grade structure options, grades 7 to 9 or grades 7 to 10. 2 attendance boundary options, and 2 kindergarten to grade 6 elementary school attendance boundary redirections. Given the current COVID-19 pandemic, the board's ability to hold a standard large group public consultation meeting in a school setting was not possible. In order to carry on with the consultation process, board, at its meeting of April 28, 2020, approved an amendment to the previously approved consultation plan and timeline to permit public consultation employing an alternate format of delivery. A draft staff recommendation report and PowerPoint video, along with other supporting information, is being provided online for the public to review and provide feedback. There are 2 ways you can provide your input, either through the study email address or through Thought Exchange. Please submit any questions you may have regarding the draft plan to the study email address, which will be provided later in this presentation. Staff will respond to questions individually, as well as creating a frequently asked questions section on the study webpage, which will be updated regularly. All feedback submitted will be provided to the school board trustees verbatim. Staff is recommending that the new Stittsville Secondary School open with a 7 to 9 grade structure and add 1 grade per year thereafter until reaching its full complement of grades 7 to 12. The school would offer an English with Core French program, an early French immersion program, and a middle French immersion program for grades 7 and 8 students. It would also offer English and French immersion programs for grade 9 to 12 students. Here are the staff recommended grade 7 and 8 English with Core French and early French immersion attendance boundary maps. You will note that Aylorn-Cassidy Elementary School is the only local school that has a different attendance boundary for the 2 programs. The grades 7 and 8 English, early French immersion, and middle French immersion attendance boundaries for the new school would be made up from a portion of each of the following schools' catchment areas: Aylorn-Cassidy Elementary School, Glencairn Public School, Goulburn Middle School, and Kitimavik Elementary School. Generally, the grade 7 and 8 attendance boundary for the new school would be bounded by Fallowfield Road to the south, Ashton Station Road to the west, Highway 417 to the north, and to the east by the Carp River, Terry Fox Drive, and Eagleson Road. A link to each map in this presentation has been provided on the study's webpage, so that you may click on any map you are interested in to enlarge the map to view the smaller details. Here are staff's recommended grades 7 and 8 middle French immersion and grades 9 to 12 secondary school attendance boundary maps. The grade 9 to 12 English and French immersion attendance boundary for the new school would be made up from a portion of each of the following schools' catchment areas: A.Y. Jackson Secondary School, Earl of March Secondary School, and South Carleton High School. Under the recommended plan, the new Stittsville Secondary School is projected to open in September 2022 with a grade 7 to 9 enrollment of 723 students with a utilization rate of 53%. In September 2025, with grades 7 to 12 students, the enrollment is projected to be 1,656 students with a utilization rate of 122%. It is anticipated the school would most likely begin to require portables on site for instruction in its 3rd year of operation. Here are the projected enrollments at area schools for the 2022-2023 school year under the recommended plan. Here are the projected enrollments at area schools for the 2025-2026 school year under the recommended plan. The recommended attendance boundaries take steps towards creating a family of schools feeding pattern. All Stittsville area elementary feeder schools would have a standardized kindergarten to grade 6 grade structure, including Aylorn-Cassidy Elementary School, Stittsville Public School, Westwind Public School, and the new Fernbank Elementary School, whose opening date is still to be determined. All students at the feeder schools would feed to the new secondary school for grades 7 to 12, except for those students residing south of Fallowfield Road and east of Eagleson Road. Staff is recommending a kindergarten to grade 6 English with core French and early French immersion attendance boundary revision between Stittsville Public School, Castle Frank Elementary School, and Kitimavik Elementary School. This change would redirect students residing west of the Carp River and Terry Fox Drive and approximately 1,825 future residential units located within the current Castle Frank Elementary School and Kitimavik Elementary School attendance areas to Stittsville Public School. These students would feed to the new Stittsville Secondary School for grades 7 to 12 upon its opening. This change would be implemented for September 2020 prior to any students moving into the area. Here is the recommended kindergarten to grade 6 English with core French and early French immersion attendance boundary redirection map between Stittsville Public School, Castle Frank Elementary School, and Kitimavik Elementary School. Staff is recommending a kindergarten to grade 6 English with core French and early French immersion attendance boundary revision between Aylorn Cassidy Elementary School and Stittsville Public School. This revision would redirect a portion of the students residing in existing and future residential units north of Hazeldean Road from Stittsville Public School to Aylorn Cassidy Elementary School. It would also redirect a small area of existing homes south of Hazeldean Road and east of Stittsville Main Street. To limit disruption and keep families together, a sibling provision would be provided. Students residing in the redirected area attending Stittsville Public School the year prior to the opening of the new Stittsville Secondary School and their siblings born the year of the new school's opening or earlier would be given a one-time option to remain or attend Stittsville Public School. This change would be implemented upon the opening of the new Stittsville Secondary School. Here is the recommended kindergarten to grade 6 English with core French and early French immersion attendance boundary redirection map between Aylorn Cassidy Elementary School and Stittsville Public School. Under this plan, grade 8 students at new Stittsville Secondary School in its first year from both Glencairn Public School and Goulburn Middle School would have to attend 3 different schools in 3 successive years for grades 6, 7, and 8. 2 different feeding patterns would be created for early French immersion students attending Aylorn Cassidy Elementary School and Westwind Public School. Students residing north of Fallowfield Road would feed to the new Stittsville Secondary School for grades 7 to 12, excluding those students residing east of Eagleson Road. Students residing south of Fallowfield Road or east of Eagleson Road would feed to Goulburn Middle School for grades 7 and 8, and South Carleton High School for grades 9 to 12. An anomaly would be created where Goulburn Middle School would not be physically located within any of its program attendance boundaries. Alternate attendance boundary options were examined by the working group. Working option B, rural area west of Stittsville. This option is similar to the recommended plan, with the exception that the rural area west of Stittsville would not be within the attendance boundary for the new Stittsville Secondary School. The students residing in the rural area would remain directed to Aylorn Cassidy Elementary School for kindergarten to grade 6, English with core French, early French immersion, and grades 4 to 6 middle French immersion. They would then feed to Goulburn Middle School for grades 7 and 8, and then to South Carleton High School for grades 9 to 12. There are approximately 50 grades 7 to 12 students residing in this area. Here are the maps of the alternate attendance boundary option considered for grades 7 and 8 English with core French and early French immersion programs. Generally, the grade 7 and 8 attendance boundary for the new school would be bounded by Fallowfield Road to the south, just outside Stittsville Village to the west, Highway 417 to the north, and to the east by the Carp River, Terry Fox Drive, and Eagleson Road. Here are the maps of the alternate attendance boundary option considered for the grades 7 and 8 Middle French Immersion program and the grade 9 to 12 secondary program. Working option C, an east-west attendance boundary. Under an east-west attendance boundary option, more students would remain at Aylorn Cassidy Elementary School and South Carleton High School, and it would take longer for overcrowding to occur at the new school. Under this option, not all Stittsville area students would be accommodated at the new school. Longer established communities would be excluded. It would also delay the need for an addition to the new school and/or capital funding for the next secondary school to serve the remaining Stittsville area students. Here is the map of 3 possible east-west attendance boundary options considered for grades 9 to 12. Stittsville Main Street was used in each option as the main east-west attendance boundary division line. Under option 1, the boundary division continued along Carp Road up to Highway 417. Under option 2, the boundary division continued between the Jackson Trails and Bryanston Gate neighborhoods. Under option 3, the boundary division continued along Hazeldean Road. A request was received as part of this study regarding whether consideration could be given to redirecting students from the village of Fallowfield to Stittsville area schools, including the new Stittsville Secondary School. Although the number of students in this area is small, significant accommodation pressures are anticipated for the new Stittsville Secondary School and its feeder schools. There was also discussion around the possibility of considering geographically closer schools in Canada South or Nepean. Both of these areas have a significant amount of ongoing new residential growth, and accommodation pressures exist at many of the schools. It would therefore not be prudent to add more students to Stittsville, Canada, or Nepean area schools at this time. Here are the composite maps of current local area English with Core French program and Early French Immersion program attendance boundaries. The area that was being considered for redirection is generally bounded by Fallowfield Road to the south, Eagleson Road to the west, Hopeside Road to the north, and Moody Drive to the east. Here is the composite map of local area Middle French Immersion program attendance boundaries. And that completes the alternate options put forth for consideration by the working group. In summary, the staff recommendation supports a plan that was guided by the study's key objectives while taking into consideration input from the working group, parents, guardians, students, and the public. The recommended attendance boundaries work towards balancing enrollments at Stittsville area schools, are logical, and align program feeding patterns, account for new and future residential development and future school openings, and take steps towards creating a family of schools configuration for the Stittsville area. Staff is also recommending that a future pupil accommodation review of South Carleton High School and all its feeder schools be undertaken to examine the needs of these schools. We welcome your feedback throughout the process. We would, however, appreciate receiving your input by Wednesday, June 10th. Your input will help inform the final staff recommendation report. Questions and comments may be submitted via email to newstittsvilless.study@ocdsb.ca. You may also use the Thought Exchange link provided on the study webpage to submit your input anonymously and view the input of others. For more information regarding the study and to view frequently asked questions, please visit the new Stittsville Secondary School Study webpage at ocdsb.ca/Stittsville. Note that all correspondence received by staff will be shared with trustees verbatim. All input received will be reviewed by staff and will help to inform their final recommendation report to board. The report is scheduled to be presented at the board meeting on June 22, 2020 for final decisions. The board meeting will allow for delegations from the public and include trustee debate regarding staff recommendations. The board's meeting will be broadcast live. To view the upcoming board meeting calendar, agenda, and link to the live broadcast, please use the link provided. Thank you for participating in this consultation process. Your input is invaluable and most appreciated.